Hey there, I wanted to share with you some of the top takeaways from a presentation that I gave to a big real estate team earlier this week. It was a great conversation, and so I wanted to share some of the best parts here with you. When you are looking for opportunities to serve your clients, potential clients, and while you're generating your leads, look for some opportunities where there's transition. There are a lot of different transitional times. And so let me give you some of the things that you're going to look out for. I've got a list of D's here, so let's work through it. The first one is death. Well, that's pretty obvious. If you're not here to live in your home, there's a really good reason why you might want it sold. So you could be working with estate planning attorneys, probate attorneys. You could even find this information in public records, and you'll likely be working with the estate executor in making those decisions. Sometimes it has to go through probate, so keep that in mind. It may not be a very quick process to get it to listing or to sale, but death is definitely a reason for that transition. Then we've got divorce. Did you know that 62% of families that are going through a divorce own real estate? Something needs to happen with that. The only way to get somebody else off of the deed is to sell the home or to refinance the loan. So let's see what the best plan is for them. And a lot of times it's a clean break from them, which means selling the home and each party going their own separate way with their own goals and their own needs being met. The next one is diapers. When you start having more and more babies, you need more and more bedrooms. It's a great opportunity as you see your friends' families expanding to help them get into a bigger home, more space. It will really improve the quality of life. The next one is dogs. I have helped more people buy their first home because they got a dang labradoodle than even for marriage or for additional babies, for having diapers there, right? So think about this. You live in a 2-bedroom apartment on the 3rd level, and you just got this cute little puppy that within a matter of months is now a 70-pound monster ball of energy. Going up and down those stairs, how many times a day, it's going to get old fast. Help them have a fenced-in backyard for the golden doodle. The next one is diamonds, or I do. So either an engagement or a marriage is usually a great time that creates the opportunity to buy a home. I've also seen where maybe each of them had their own separate home and they want to sell those and buy a home together. Think about that. You could have 2 listings and a purchase. Oh, nothing could be sweeter than that. The next one is downsizing. Maybe somebody has an empty nest now and they no longer need that 4-bedroom with the family room, with the living room, with the, right? So help them sell that home and downsize into something more appropriate for where they're at in their life. Maybe it's time for the condo on the beach. Next is displacement. A lot of times people are relocated. There's economic factors that change their life. Maybe they've lost their job, something along those lines. But displacement is a really big reason why people need to sell. So keep that in mind too. And then deployment. A lot of people are moving around this great world of ours because they're serving in the military. If they get deployed, their family, their spouse might want to live in a home and they can buy it, even though that veteran, the military person is overseas or serving some other place. They can buy a home for their spouse and children to live in while they're deployed. Or maybe they're going to go on a deployment that's going to be at least 2 years in some other country and they want to sell their home right now. So deployment is the next one. And then finally, debt. And this is the one that's going to crush America. Just my 2 cents. I can't prove it. I don't know. But this is what I believe will change the landscape of real estate. 48% of people who have a credit card is bringing a balance forward because they're no longer in a place to be able to pay that debt off in full. The amount of debt outstanding right now is the most it's ever been, and it's in the trillions. There are people that are walking around with a car payment that starts with a 1,000 and comma. It's really quite incredible. I was talking to a lady yesterday who is retired. Between her pension and her Social Security, she collects $3,000 a month, and she has over a $500 car payment. That's a big chunk of her income. So keep that in mind, that there are a lot of people that even if they own a home right now and it's at 3% interest rate, and sometimes even better than that, they can't keep up with their lifestyle because they are servicing so much debt. They've got credit cards with balances they can't get down. They've got a car payment that starts with a $1,000 and some change. They've got student loans or personal loans just trying to get by. And I think that's the debt that is going to cripple people's desires of getting ahead, because they're getting buried in consumer or personal debt. Also, keep in mind insurance and property taxes. It's a real problem for a lot of people. They started off with one payment and now they might be hundreds and hundreds of dollars higher now. And the only way to get out of this situation might be to sell their home, pay off all of their personal debt, maybe rent for a year or so, and get back on their feet again. If we're walking into an economic recession, it might be a great time to just take a breather, pay off all your debt from the equity of your home, and reposition your life. See how this thing shakes out. Maybe you don't stay in the same industry. Maybe you wind up in a different job. Who knows? So it would take a lot of pressure off if all of that debt were paid. And for most people, the only way to pay it is from the equity of their home. So we might find some additional listing opportunities because of that. It doesn't make me happy or joyful to say it. It's just what I think is going to be the reality for a lot of people. So let's then see, we've got that in our foresight, right? We're keeping an eye out for those transitional periods in people's lives of what causes a real estate transaction to happen. So if you are also looking for some other ideas to think about, just to think outside of the box, I've got a couple here I want to share with you. So you might be working with somebody who's thinking about buying an investment property, since real estate is an exceptional way to build your wealth. Maybe you could introduce them to Pad Split. They've got their own website. It's a little bit too much for me to put into this video right now, but if you check that out, they've got a lot of information. It's basically where it's a short-term rental per bedroom. And the way that that company gets around short-term rental restrictions in certain counties is that the property is managed and ran by Pad Split, and then Pad Split rents out one room at a time, usually by the week. It's great for some transient people, such as traveling nurses, somebody who's coming in for a conference or a training and doesn't want to stay at a hotel. They want to stay in a home. They essentially have their own bedroom. It usually has a little mini fridge, a Keurig coffee maker, maybe a little microwave, and perhaps a shared or maybe even their own bathroom space. There's typically a kitchen, but that's about it for shared spaces. Usually the living room is turned into a bedroom on that home. So maybe that's something that you could talk to them about. It usually winds up providing much higher returns on your cash flow than, say, an annual rental, an investment property that you buy to rent out to one household for 1 year at a time. Think about student housing. So if you live near a college or a university, you can own a home or even a duplex, triplex, quadplex, and you could rent out that home by the bedroom for the school year to the students. And then if you want to do any upgrades, typically that would be done during the summer when they're not living there. But a lot of times some friends want to all live together. I would encourage you to do some background checks, set up a really, really solid lease agreement, no candles, no smoking, no parties, none of those things. And maybe even consider having a second refrigerator in the kitchen. You could probably even eliminate the stove if you wanted to. Who knows if those crazy college kids are cooking, but they definitely will have food in the refrigerator. So maybe replace the pantry or some cabinets with a second refrigerator. Just a thought. How about this? What if you bought an investment property and you rented out one bedroom on an annual lease? So think about this. There's plenty of single people out there that are really struggling to make ends meet right now. So what if you bought a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom home, and each bedroom/bathroom is rented out to a single party, and they sign a 1-year lease agreement, and they have 2 other roommates They may have chosen them, they may not have, you might have. So I would encourage you, if you're going to go this way, maybe make it all female or all male, just to protect everybody's privacy and make it feel a little bit more comfortable. And I know we can't discriminate against age, but it might be worth stating that you want to try to find some people that will have some nice synergy together, that all agree to play well in the sandbox together. So again, you're going to want to probably talk to a real estate attorney about putting together a really solid lease agreement. It says no candles, no pets, no smoking. What happens when you violate that? What happens if there's overnight guests or friends that stay longer than a certain period of time? You don't want additional friends sharing that bedroom that aren't contributing to the rent. And also there's a lot more people underneath one roof than what you might feel comfortable with. So make sure that there's some solid parameters there so that your client is protected, with their goals, and have an investment that they want to hold on to for a very long time. And if you're working with some people who want some out-of-the-box thinking when it comes to their next investment property or their first investment property, maybe look at some mixed use or even commercial properties. I think there's going to be an incredible opportunity in the commercial world coming up here, just due to financing terms on some commercial properties that are coming due at terms that people aren't necessarily comfortable with. So I think that there's going to be opportunities to purchase commercial properties at a very discounted rate. And if that's the case, maybe you can repurpose that. One of the examples I had given was somebody had bought a warehouse, got the zoning changed to allow it for housing, and turned that warehouse into loft apartments. How cool is that? You could take an old building in a downtown little quaint town that may not have a hotel nearby and turn that old building into a little boutique hotel. There's a boutique hotel that I love to stay at when we go to certain places. It has it, Seattle, Boston, a couple of other big cities, called Pineapple Inn. And it's just a little boutique space that was an old building renovated, and it was super cool to stay there. So if I enjoy it, I know I'm not the only person that enjoys it. So maybe you can help people start seeing things outside of the box a little bit differently than what's in front of them. And you can give them some ideas of what's possible, of what could be. And if that's the case, maybe have a longer due diligence time in that purchase so that they could go to the city, the county, the zoning departments and have conversations about, is it possible to be able to change the zoning so that it can fit inside of what their goal is for that property. Well, I hope that provides some additional ideas to think a little bit differently. Renovation loans are always out there. So if you are looking at some properties that, oh my gosh, it's going to take $75,000 to $150,000 to bring it up to like current year, think about a renovation loan. The problem is a lot of those homes, those sellers are still asking top dollar as if it's a renovated home and not considering the cost it takes to put into it. So keep an eye on the acquisition cost plus the renovation cost. Is it going to equal out or be a little bit better on the end? If not, be careful, because that renovation loan may not be advantageous for your client. I hope this gives you some great ideas to work with and to run with, and maybe you can plant some of these ideas as little seeds in people that you talk with to start generating some ideas of going, you know what, I think I do want to buy my first investment property. Let's explore what's out there. Or I think I do want to sell and buy a bigger home so my quality of life is better now that I have all these little diapers running around my home. And keep an eye on those dogs. If you have nothing better to do, go to the pet store with a handful of cards, your business cards. And when you see people with their brand new puppies checking out all the toys that they're spending way too much money on, hand them a card and say, your puppy asked me to give this to you because they want a big fenced-in backyard. So let's help them have one. Until next time, see you soon.